Now we can also return values from our methods. What does that mean? We could, instead of what we did here, as you can see here, it says public static void, which means it does not return anything, right? So it returns void, nothing. And we're system out, we are printing out the result. So we could create, let's say, create another method here. Let's call this public static. Instead of void, because we want to return something, in this case, let's say if we want to return an integer, we can say int, because that means this method here will have to return an integer. That's our contract. Let's call this get area, okay, function. Okay, let's go ahead here. Now, look, we have a problem. So the problem here is that we have to add a return statement. Why? Well, because we said here, this is an int method, which means it has to return something. So what we can do here, we can return. What do we want to return? Let's say we want to return an area of something, right? In this case, we can say width times height. All right, well, we have a problem here because we don't know what width it is and what height is. Well, since we learned about parameters here, why not pass them here? So let's say int width, int height. Okay, so there we go. So now this method here, get area, will return an integer, which is going to be the area. So we're multiplying width with the height. Let's go ahead and run this and see. Let's run, let's say, get area, and we're going to pass in 10 and 10. Okay, semicolon there to finalize our statement. Let's run. Let's see what's going to happen. Before we go, let's comment this out. That way we don't have a lot of issues here. So run again. What's going on? So I'm running and nothing is showing, nothing is working. Well, things are actually working. The problem here that we have here is that we're not showing it, right? Because this return, remember, it returns from this method here a number, which we are calculating here an area. We're not displaying it. So the number is there in memory, but we haven't displayed it. So how do we do that? Well, that is the beauty of having a function that returns something, because now this, as we said, it's returning a number, which we can use as we wish. So now here, what we can do, we can actually say system.out.print ln. We can say the area is, and we can now call this get area. As you can see there, our IntelliSense is showing everything. Get area, and we can pass in 10 and 10. And we don't need this now here. We can get rid of that. Okay. So now, since we know this will just return the result, we can just call it like this. Okay, so if we save now and run, we should see the area is 100. So that's the power of having being able to return something from our methods, from our functions, because now we can use this result. We can even take this whole result and put it in a variable. So we could have said this: int area is equal to get area, and pass 10. Okay, and now guess what? Our area will hold the value of what's been returned. So this will not show any difference, but we know at least our code is still working. So why am I showing you this? Well, it's because you now have a lot of power to do whatever you want with this returned value here, right? Because since we know it's returning an actual value, we could do a lot of things. We could say, if we want to add another 23 there, save this, look what's going to happen. So we have 100, it's going to have 123. We can go and say -4. Right? You go ahead and run, and there we go. So you can do a lot of things because you are getting an actual number as opposed to just having a void that returns nothing, just displays stuff. You now have that number that's being returned to do whatever you want to do with it. That's a very, very powerful aspect of programming, the fact that we can create and return different types of values from our methods. In this case, since I showed you integer, so this only return integers, you could have also created another method. So public static string, okay, show full name, for instance. Okay, we can pass in string first name and string last name, like so. And here we can say return. Right? We can append everything. We can go ahead and say return first name plus, let's put some space, last name, like that. So now what we can do, we get a system.out.println. We can say full name is, and now we can go ahead and call our full name method here, right? So we can say full name and pass in, let's say, I want to say Paulo, and next is going to be Dishon, and there we go. So now if we save this and run, look, full name is Paulo Dishon. You see the power? Because now we are saying we are returning a string. So we can now use that full name method and pass in whatever we want to pass in, and it's going to work. And again, just like what we did with our get area here, we can do a lot more if we want to, let's say, add hello at the end. We can do the same because now everything is treated as one thing. Okay, let's put space there. Okay, so you see my full name is Paulo Dishon hello. If you can return a string, you can return an int. That means you can also return a boolean. So you can say public static boolean is true. Okay. And we can say pass in boolean A and boolean B. So what we can do to make it a little bit more interesting, we say if A is B, return A, else return B. So this would be better. Okay, let's get rid of that. So now if A is not equal to B, return A, else return B. Okay, so save this. Let's say true here. Save and run. We should see my truth is false. So A is not B. Is that true? A is indeed not B, so return A, which is false. Okay, let's put true here. Save. Let's run one more time. My truth is true. Let's see. So A is true. So A is true. So A is not equal to B. No, that's not true. Because A, it is equal. So it's going to return A, which is true. All right. So anyway, you can see there's a lot of things you can do. So you can actually use method to return values that you can use as you wish in your programs. And methods are everywhere in Java. And we'll talk about classes and objects in the upcoming videos. And you will see more of this taking place. All right, so this was a good introduction. So I hope you are starting to understanding a little bit about methods and how to return things as I'm showing you here. But don't worry if it's a little bit still a little bit hazy, because we will come back to it. In fact, this is the building blocks of what we are going to be learning, continue learning about Java. Congratulations if you got to this point, and play around with this concept, and I'll see you in the next video.